Hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this lecture on the oil and gas facilitating business. As we said, our aim in this training is to prepare you for the oil and gas facilitating business so that by the end of the lecture, you should be able to settle as an oil and gas facilitator. And for you to do that, you have to understand the meaning of facilitating. You have to understand the vocabs related to the business. You have to understand who are the players, who does what at what time, what is a contract, how do we read a contract, and how to draft a contract. What are the sections, the required sections in the in a contract. Okay, know how to analyze it and know how to negotiate your your commissions, to negotiate your earnings. Okay, today we are going to talk about the contracting. We said in the contracting you have the contracts and you have the contract procedure. The reason why, when you receive an SPA, sell purchase agreement, or a contract, you will see that the header carries or specifies which type of contract it is, and the procedure will follow. Okay, a procedure is, before I get to the point, what is a contract procedure? Okay, every contract has a procedure. It is the specifics in the procedure that is followed during the execution of any contract. A procedure is like an engine in the car. As I said before, the procedure is like an engine to the car. It is the backbone of the contract. Okay, once we said a contract, this is the procedure. What will be done at what time, what will be done by who has to supply which documents. Okay, so it is the backbone, it is the engine in the car, without which the car cannot move. You cannot complete, you cannot close a deal if there's no procedure. You have to know at what time do we do what, and what is to be done by who. Okay, therefore, without a procedure, there is no execution specifics to be followed. Before a contract is signed and sealed, it is the items in the procedure that are being negotiated upon. It is the hub of the contract and must be followed strictly. That means the the procedure of the contract must be followed strictly. If not, you will have to pay some penalties if you do not follow the contract. That will be characterized as a default of a breach of contract. Okay, it is the contents of a procedure that are generally the objectives of the discussion in the TTM. Okay, so in the TTM you have to discuss the procedure of the contract. Okay, the procedure of the contract, and decide who is going to do what is going to be done by who, and at what time. Okay, a procedure specifies the order of business in respect with a contract. It states how and when things could be done within the specifics in a contract. Okay, so keep in mind that the procedure is the backbone of the contract. It is the engine without which the car cannot move, and it is usually the reason why there is a TTM right at the beginning of the deal. You must spend enough time to study a procedure before you sign a contract, and a procedure can only be amended by a mutual agreement of both parties. Please, I would like to emphasize on this. You are not allowed to modify a procedure by yourself. Okay, as a facilitator, if you think that there is something to be corrected on the procedure, please, you have to call on a new TTM. That means a meeting, and both parties have to sit around the table and decide what should be modified. Okay, I will show to you a sample of the TTT procedure here and tell you Okay, you see here you have the first step as a procedure. It is a tongue-to-tongue transfer. Okay, they said seller and buyer sign sales purchase agreement, the SPA, with full banking details and copies sent to both banks. That is the first step that each party has to do it. And they say step two, buyer bank give the seller bank undertaking and authority to load charter party agreement of vessels in buyer's name and duly addressed to seller. Okay, that means that is the second step. After you are done with the first step, the second step is this, and the third step, this is seller loads his vessel and send the notice of readiness to the buyer's vessel. Okay, meaning in a procedure they will always tell you that step one you do this, step two you do that, and step three you do this, step four you do step. Reason why, it is like a chain. Okay, it is like a chain. You cannot jump a step. You have to go one by one and in a sequential order. Okay, I would like to remind to you that each contract has the contract detail, the procedure, and the required documents. What are the required documents for a contract? Like in the case of a TTT, for example, they may ask for the original bill of lading, the commercial invoice, the certificate of origin, the certificate of quality and quantity, the certificate of ownership from the seller or from the supplier. Okay, the tanker haulage report, the tanker timesheet, the master receipt of the document. Meaning in each procedure they will specify what are the required document. And as I said, usually the procedure of the buyer is always more powerful than the procedure of the seller, because the buyer is a king. But a contract is a mutual agreement. It is a common ground between two parties, meaning they have to discuss it during the TTM meeting. Okay. Okay, getting to contracting. Okay, you have to note items in a procedure differ from seller to seller. Okay, a seller a seller may have his own procedure. It may be the TTT. Let's say TTT, or okay, in a TTT procedure, for example, you have seller A. He has his own required documents and some few modifications of the procedure. And you have seller B. Okay, he has on the same TTT. Okay, uh, he has his own procedure and require documents. Okay, so at the end you see that with the same procedure, uh, things might differ in the contract and the document also might differ. Reason why I insist that you have to call on a TTT meeting, a TTTM, which is TTT meeting, to discuss all that with all the parties involved. And keep in mind that the buyer's procedure is always more powerful. Okay, a procedure must be balanced. That is, it must not be in the favor of the buyer or seller. It must be both buyer and seller friendly. If a procedure is in favor of one party, it will be very difficult to execute such contract. It must be fairly worded and clearly understood by both parties. Okay, a procedure has to favor both parties. If a procedure is in favor of only one party, most of the time this kind of deal will never work. Okay, they will never close the deal. Okay, as I said, in this contracting, it is a very short lecture because I just explained the overview of contracting, how you go about it, and how to in fact, to understand a procedure, to execute a procedure itself, And you have to keep in mind that if you have to modify a procedure, you have to call on both parties, and the procedure has to be in favor of both parties. Okay, in this lecture, we were able to cover three different types of contract in the previous, I mean, in the part of the contracts. We said you have the CIF, the FOB, and the TTT. And the safest one for a buyer is the CIF, okay? And the TTT is done in the international waters. Be very careful when you are doing TTT, okay? I think unless you have question, we are going to put an end to this class. Unless you have question, okay, go ahead. Okay. No, we said, um, yeah, we said each contract, okay, each contract has its own documents that should come with it, okay. In the procedure, they will always specify, they will always tell you what are the required document to close the deal, okay. Then you have to bring it whether you are on the buyer side or on the seller side, meaning each party has its own share. So you need to bring in the required documents, okay. Is it clear? Okay, good. Now we have explained the procedure, what is the meaning of the procedure, and how to go about it, how to read it, how to execute the procedure, and so on. We will, in the next lecture, we will get back into explaining what understanding a contract, how to read a contract, what are the items, what are the sections that you have to pay attention on, and how to close a contract. Okay, so if there's no question, okay, okay, thank you very much.